Good evening, I'm Dennis Ward. Welcome to APTN National News. A political organization that represents 33 First Nations in Manitoba is continuing its silence over an incident involving its Grand Chief. As we reported on Thursday, Jerry Daniels, the Grand Chief of the Southern Chiefs organization, was involved in an altercation outside a bar in Ottawa early Tuesday morning, just hours before the start of the Assembly of First Nations Special Assembly. Daniels was hospitalized after the altercation that is believed to have involved two band councillors from Lake St. Martin First Nation in Manitoba. Other political leaders, including the current interim Grand Chief of SCO, are also not talking. SCO has not responded to numerous requests for comment, but the organization's website is being scrubbed of pages that featured Daniels, including his bio page. Lake Manitoba First Nation Chief Cornell McLean is now also listed as interim Grand Chief on the SCO website. McLean and the acting chief of Lake St. Martin were both asked about the Ottawa incident at an unrelated press conference in Winnipeg today. McLean would only say that he hoped more information would become available next Tuesday. Reporters were asked to stop asking questions about the incident involving Daniels.
Do you have any update on the health of Jerry Daniels and how long you expect to be the interim chief for SCO?
No comment. This is not about Jerry Daniels here.
I'd just like to make a comment to those that are asking questions. Can you just please keep them to the Jordan's Principle funding issue that we're having? Any other discussions for any other issues? This is not the appropriate time, please. Thank you.
Well, at that press conference, the Interlake Reserves Tribal Council, or IRTC, demanded the federal government follow through on Jordan's Principle funding. The council represents 7 First Nations located in Manitoba's Interlake region. Indigenous Services Canada dedicated over $15.5 million to IRTC communities for Jordan's Principle for 2024-2025. However, the Tribal Council says they've received less than half that amount. Yesterday in Ottawa, Manitoba Kuwait-Nawi Okimakanak Grand Chief Garrison Satie demanded Canada restore Jordan's Principle funding and end backlogs. IRTC member communities currently have a backlog of 500 families. At a press conference on Friday in Winnipeg, IRTC Chair Chief Cornell McLean said they've funded about $1 million to fill gaps that Ottawa must reimburse.
You created a program for our people to fail, and then failure is exactly what's happening here today. IRTC is out about $1 million of reimbursements, and we were told that we would be able to meet with Health Canada to resolve that issue. That's monies that we've taken out of other programs to meet the demand, meet the needs of our people, you know, for food, Pampers, wipes, pay rent for them, and provide respite, because the Jordan's Principle program, you know, you're giving back to basic, you're giving basic needs, you know, all of these programs. And what ends up happening right now today is that all the chiefs, the leadership is all over Facebook because we spent all the money. Well, that's not the case, as you heard from the CEO, that, we had a review done by the senior officials from Ottawa. We came out of that with flying colors. We showed them all our reports, all of our spending.
The federal government has launched a new Arctic foreign policy so it can better respond to emerging security and environmental threats in Canada's north. The policy includes appointing a new Arctic ambassador and establishing 2 new diplomatic missions in Alaska and Greenland. It was developed after months of consultation with provincial, territorial, and Indigenous governments, as well as with the U.S. and Arctic European countries. The policy aims to foster a more secure, prosperous, and resilient Arctic in the face of new and emerging threats to the region. It will also advance the interests of Indigenous peoples who call the Arctic home. Ottawa is investing $35 million up front and $7 million annually over the next 5 years.
The North and its people are at the heart of the new Arctic foreign policy, and the inclusion and leadership of Northern peoples will be essential to its implementation. Meaningful collaboration with Indigenous leaders strengthens governance, supports reconciliation, and ensures that policy is grounded in the knowledge, cultures, and lived experiences of those it's intended to serve.
The first checks from the Children's Special Allowance Settlement have been sent to members of the Red River Métis CFS class action lawsuit. The plaintiffs are children who were under the care of Métis Child and Family Services agencies between 2005 and 2019. During those 14 years, Manitoba forced CFS agencies to redirect over $335 million in federal children's special allowance payments to the province's general revenue stream. This September, a Manitoba court approved a $530 million settlement for the Red River Métis CFS class action. Manitoba's part of this settlement is to pay $84.8 million. Class members have until February 21, 2037 to claim their compensation. To Saskatchewan now, where RCMP have arrested 3 people in North Battleford for drug trafficking and a number of weapons charges. On November 28th, Saskatchewan RCMP executed a search warrant at 2 residences in North Battleford, one home in the 800 block of 107th Street and the other in the 1000th block of 105th Street. Initially, 16 people, 9 females and 7 males, were arrested, but then 13 were later released without charges. Officers seized methamphetamine and other evidence of drug trafficking, along with 3 firearms, ammunition, replica firearms, and body armor. 27-year-old Heather Moussois and 22-year-old Joannie Moussois, both from North Battleford, and 31-year-old Zachary Sanderson from Kinestino were charged with a number of drug and weapon offenses and made their first court appearance on December 2nd. Today is day 22 of the Canada Post strike. The two sides still remain far apart on issues of wage increases and weekend delivery. A union representative says the wage increase proposed by Canada Post is irresponsible.
Members are looking for accountability from Canada Post. Minister Ducot is responsible. The 8 members on the executive run Canada Post. They've been appointed by the minister. There's responsibility here. We want to get back to work, but we want a fair negotiated contract at the bargaining table. So we want that done and to resume as soon as possible. We deserve a living wage.
There has been one positive development in the past day. Canada Post management is now reviewing new counter proposals from the union, but the two sides are yet to resume negotiations face-to-face at the bargaining table. Canada's unemployment rate rose more than expected in November, hitting 6.8%, even as the economy added 51,000 jobs. Statistics Canada figures show the unemployment rate is the highest it's been in 8 years, outside of the pandemic years. The jump in unemployment likely boosting the chances of a large interest rate cut from the Bank of Canada next week. Employment increased in Alberta, Manitoba, Quebec, and Prince Edward Island in November, with little change in other provinces. The Keystone XL pipeline is back in the news. That story and more coming up. Welcome back. Statistics Canada has released new data tables on the knowledge of Indigenous languages. It's based on generation status, mother tongue, age, and gender. Here's reporter Sierra Bettens with more.
According to data from the 2021 census, 243,160 people in Canada have knowledge of an Indigenous language. 56.9% of that group said an Indigenous language is their mother tongue. The overwhelming majority of respondents were in the third generation or more in their family to know an Indigenous language. About half of the respondents in the 0 to 14 category were mother tongue speakers. That's compared to 2/3 of speakers in the 65 plus category. The data did not provide information on the proficiency levels of respondents. Sierra Bettens, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
A wilderness ranch in Yukon is the first Indigenous project to receive federal funding from a new Indigenous tourism program. The signature Indigenous Tourism Experiences Stream, or SITES, was first announced earlier this year. The program is providing $10 million to help grow Indigenous tourism across Canada for the 2024-2025 period. The program is providing the Kwanlin-Dun First Nation $750,000 to expand the Sky High Wilderness Ranch. The First Nation purchased the ranch last December. It offers dog sledding, horseback riding, and off-grid cabin stays. The funding will be used to enhance accommodations, increase space, and build a new visitor and elder center.
It's gonna just help grow this business and develop these opportunities for empowering citizens within our nation.
Well, as the weather continues to get colder, a family from Pelican Narrows in northern Saskatchewan has been trying to survive and stay warm. Marianne and Gordon Ballantyne have been living in a donated camper that was given to the family to live in after their house burnt down this past summer. The 75-year-olds both live with diabetes, and the family says they have been on the Peter Ballantyne Cree Nation housing list for a number of years. The elderly couple also helped look after 19 grandchildren and great-grandchildren, with a number of the younger ones living with them in the camper. The camper has no running water, and Marianne and Gordon have kept it heated using a wood stove. Pelican Narrows is located about 380 kilometers northeast of Prince Albert. With more on this all, Creason spoke earlier today with their granddaughter, Michaela Rennis from Edmonton, who's speaking on their behalf.
Michaela, thank you for speaking with us. Can you explain the current situation your grandparents and their grandchildren are going through right now?
Yes, for sure. Thank you for taking your time to talk to me. Right now, my grandparents and my grandchildren are facing extreme hardship. At the moment, they are living in conditions that nobody should, especially elderly with their health conditions. Currently, they are living in a camping trailer that is not suitable for winter. There's no heat, no electricity, and there's no functioning toilet. And right now we are desperately seeking support to ensure that they can live with some dignity and safety.
You and the family also worry a lot because of their current age and their health condition. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so their health and their age is a major concern for us. My grandparents, who should be living in stability, are instead forced to live in conditions that are taking a toll on their physical and mental well-being. Their health issues are worsening due to the stress and cold and the lack of basic needs. And not anyone, like no one should be living like this, especially our elders. So, yeah.
Can you explain what happened to your grandparents' home earlier this summer?
Yes. So this past summer, their house burnt down, and that was leaving. That left them with nothing. They had no place to go, and they were living in tents. And before the camper trailer was brought to them, that's what they were doing, was living in the tents and living with I think it was a family member's I guess girlfriend. I'm not quite too sure, but that left them vulnerable, and so the the trailer was brought for a temporarily I guess shelter, and this trailer is not equipped for winter. There's no water, no heat, electricity, and there's not even a way to use the toilet. And so this makes it very difficult for them to live a normal life. And it's really heartbreaking to see them suffer like this, especially now that winter's here.
Michaela, what is your message to Pelican Narrow's leadership, but also the Prince Albert Grand Council in this matter, and what do you think needs to be done?
Yeah, so to the Pelican Narrows leadership and the Prince Albert Grand Council, I'm pleading with you to take a step in immediate action. My grandparents and their grandchildren cannot endure these conditions any longer. They need a safe place to be staying in, somewhere warm, and even something that is functional to even live in. Our elders are the heart of our community, and leaving them in this state of neglect is unacceptable. And we need transparency, accountability, and immediate action to ensure that they're not left behind.
And finally, Michaela, on top of all of this, you worry again because the previous chief has asked for help earlier this year from both the Prime Minister and the Premier because of the ongoing violence and drugs there. Yeah,
so the broader challenges in our community, such as like the violence, the drugs, it adds a layer of worry. The systematic issues make it hard for families like mine to get the help that they need. It feels like there's no sense of safety or urgency to address these problems. We need leaders at all levels, local, federal, provincial, to come together to create a real change. And without action, families will continue to suffer and the cycle of hardship will persist.
Well, Michaela, we'll have to leave it there. I thank you for speaking with us, and definitely keep us updated if you hear anything following this.
Yes, thank you.
Now, in a statement to APTN News, Peter Ballantyne Cree Nation Vice Chief Justin Halcrow said, following the elders' house fire, the nation provided emergency support, including $6,000 for essentials. Temporary accommodations were also arranged in a full basement unit. However, after 2 weeks, the family decided to move out and be closer to their original home site and live in a donated camper as a short-term solution while working on a permanent housing plan. Attempts were made to have a ready-to-move home sent to Pelican Narrows, but those plans were stalled after the moving company was suspended for improperly lifting a power line while moving the home. Three other housing offers were given to the family, but the family declined, expressing their decision to remain near their original home. Halcrow says the issue highlights the ongoing housing crisis in Pelican Narrows, with 3,900 band members and only 335 units. After this story aired earlier in the day, the family tells APTN News the Ballantynes have been put into a temporary house for the winter. A Dene climate activist has received a major award. That story and more still to come. Welcome back. Time now for our photo of the day. Dorothy Ratch tells us she's cruising on the Atlantic and took time to think of us and sent in this almost angelic view of the sun piercing through the clouds. Thanks, Dorothy. Enjoy the cruise. We're jealous. You can send your pictures to share@aptn.ca to have a chance to be featured here as our next photo of the day. Now let's take a look at your Saturday weather forecast. Starting on the East Coast, -7 in Fredericton, 4 below with snow in Halifax. Flurries and 10 below in Kuujjuaq and in Nain. -5 in Montreal, flurries and 14 below in Chibougamau. +1 in Sault Ste. Marie, snow and -2 in North Bay. +1 with snow in Thunder Bay, -1 and flurries in Sioux Lookout. -7 with snow in God's Lake and Norway House. +4 in Winnipeg, sunny, and 2 in Brandon and Dauphin. 2 in Regina, cloudy and -1 in Saskatoon. +1 in Meadow Lake, 6 below in Buffalo Narrows. In northern Alberta, -10 with snow and high level, sunny and 1 below in Fort Chip. 2 in Edmonton, cloudy and 10 for Lethbridge. 9 in Vancouver, 11 and showers in Victoria. 0 in Prince George, +5 in Smithers. -15 in Old Crow, 9 below in Whitehorse. -15 in Yellowknife, snow and 13 below for Norman Wells. -24 in Sax Harbor, flurries and 20 below in Paulatuck. -32 in Baker Lake, 31 below for Chesterfield. -24 in Resolute and Joe Haven. Dene climate activist Ariel Zekwe-Deranger from the Athabasca Chippewa First Nation in Alberta was one of the recipients of the Climate Breakthrough Award that comes with $4 million in funding for the next 3 years. Deranger was recognized for her work as co-founder of Indigenous Climate Action, a nonprofit that works with grassroots Indigenous peoples, leaders, and groups to help solve climate change. She told APTN that her International Indigenous Climate Justice Initiative will look to tackle the climate crisis by bringing Indigenous groups from around the globe together to share ideas on solving the climate crisis and doing it as sovereign Indigenous peoples.
While I might not be the first Indigenous person to win the award, I'm the first Indigenous person that's advancing an Indigenous rights-based framework or project. And this is huge for Indigenous peoples globally, because this means that we're not just being recognized as, sort of spiritual, tokenistic, mystical people that are connected to the land, but as people that have real value in advancing real solutions that are going to bring tangible change to the planet as a whole. And so I think this is so incredible to be given this opportunity.
And congrats to Ariel on that award, big one. That's all the time we have for your APTN National News for this Friday. Of course, there's much more over on our website, aptnnews.ca. And be sure to stick around. Kim Sullivan is up next with our French language newscast. They were very busy at the AFN Assembly in Ottawa this week. Lots coming up on the show there. That's up next. I'm Dennis Ward. Marcy Miigwech, thanks for being with us. Have a great night.